In the United States, everything is king size, so it only makes sense that we're driving BMW's biggest SUV, the X7, over here. Now the X7, it isn't very old. It was first launched in 2019, but there's already a facelift. There's a lot that's changed over here. Visually, it looks more in line with the rest of the 7s, like the 7 series, the i7. The interiors, that has been updated as well. And the engines, not too much has changed on that front. Now before we go ahead, make sure you like this video, subscribe to the Evo India channel, and leave a comment down below. What do you think of BMW's new design language for the X7? Let me quickly talk you through the big changes on the X7's exterior. The most obvious is to the front end. You've got the split headlamp design, you've got DRLs on top, the main beam at the bottom, and this is very similar to the new 7 series, the new i7. The whole idea was to make this X7 fit into that 7 family. You've got a large grille. Obviously, this is BMW's biggest SUV. It's going to have a massive grille, and the bumper is actually a clean design. I actually like how this X7 looks. It's very in your face, but it sort of works together. All of the elements, they come together very well. They work together. Now, come over to the side. Down here, you'll see large 23-inch wheels, P0 rubber. This is a BMW, should be handling very well with this on it. Behind that, you've got this massive chrome character line. It's something that's been carried over from the last X7. It's still there, very in your face. Gives the side good definition. Otherwise, this would look like one big slab. That sort of cuts the monotony of the bodywork on the side. And then when you come over to the rear, that's where you've got a few more subtle changes, not as obvious as the front. You've got this tail lamp design, it's got a 3D effect to it, and you've got this chrome strip that continues, but it now has a glass cover over here. It's not bare chrome. The X7, the badges, all of that remains the same. Overall, this is a very big car, imposing car. In my opinion, it looks good. Let's see what it's like on the inside. Now, when you come to the insides of the X7, some things have changed, but some things have stayed the same. The steering wheel, that hasn't changed, but what's behind that, that is new. You've got a 12.3-inch instrument cluster, you've got a 14.9-inch infotainment screen, and this is essentially shared with the 7 series and the i7. Lower down, this entire area has been redesigned. It's become more minimal. So the aircon vents, they're much slimmer. You control the aircon vents with these little knobs over here. This is actually backlit, and it looks very cool when you're driving it around at night. This area here is again a little slimmer than before, and your center console area, that has been revised a little bit, not too much. You've got a new gear selector, that's new, but the rest of it remains the same. You've got that crystal finish that first debuted in the X7 and now is making its way across the range. With that aside, this is essentially what's changed on the X7. In terms of features, you've got pretty much what you'd expect. You've got your wireless phone charger, there's a USB Type A, you've got a panoramic sunroof, and you've also got a sunroof for the third row. Now, I've not seen that in too many cars before. That aside, this is a very comfortable cabin to be. It feels worthy of a flagship. Let's get on the road and see what it's like. Right, so first impressions of the BMW X7, and honestly, it feels like not too much has changed really. There are a few updates to the chassis. You've got a new steering system, you've got new dampers that basically change how the vertical movement is controlled. But apart from that, nothing really has changed. This is, after all, a facelift. And in that sense, it drives, it feels, it moves along the road pretty much like the older X7. In terms of refinement, it's very, very good. You've got a 6-cylinder petrol up front. Noise isolation from the outside is good. You do get a little bit of road noise filtering through the cabin. You can hear what sounds like the front wheel wells a little bit. But apart from that, really, really quiet, silent inside here. Ride quality, it's good. That vertical movement is still there a little bit. You can feel a little bit of that movement. But all in all, it's excellent, you know. This is slightly stiffly sprung compared to something like a Q7, so you will feel bumps a little bit more, but that's okay, you know. It's part of the BMW experience. The flip side to that is you do get a car that handles very well. You've got sharp steering. The turn-in, the initial turn-in is very strong, very positive. And once you get into the corner as well, it sits onto its side and then it stays there. It holds the line very well. You don't feel it descending into understeer. Not like we're pushing the limits of the car very hard here, but 60 miles an hour, 100 kilometers an hour around these corners, it's perfectly fine. It's absolutely composed. There's no drama whatsoever. There's tons of grip. We've got these big fat tires. This is running 23-inch wheels, Pirelli P0 tires. So you've got enormous amounts of grip. If you want to start squealing tires, you've got to be driving really, really hard. And I don't want to go to jail in America, so I'm just not going to. But that aside, the dynamic balance of the X7, it was always inherently there, and that continues with this update. You know, there's nothing that you would complain about dynamically about this car. In fact, it's surprising how well this handles for such a large car. In terms of drivetrains, this is the 40i variant, and that's great because we have the 40i on sale in India as well. And that means under the hood we've got a straight 6 turbocharged petrol engine making 372 bhp, 540 Nm of torque. Those are fairly good outputs, you know. I mean, this is a big car, but at no point does it feel strained or labored or anything of that sort. Okay, it doesn't have the effortlessness of a V8. So in terms of performance, it's more than adequate for a car like this, and especially for the sort of driving we do in India, you know, regular city driving, it's quiet, silent. You won't hear a chew inside the cabin, you know, it's absolutely quiet. And then when you do want to let it rip on the highway, stamp on the accelerator and it will move. The X7 comes with all-wheel drive as standard, so traction here is never a problem. Even when you're gunning out of corners, you can floor it pretty hard. Not that we're doing that today, but theoretically you can floor it pretty hard and it will grip. The M60i variant, not the one we're driving, also gets a rear diff, so that'll be fun.
While this engine may look the same on paper, there are actually significant changes inside. Firstly, this engine is now a mild hybrid and it can be driven at low speeds in full EV mode. This is thanks to a switchable cam follower on the exhaust side. It also has an electric valve train on the intake side and has switched to the Miller combustion cycle, which is more efficient and less polluting.
Other drivetrains we can expect in India, we will continue with the 30D most likely. This 40i should make it there, and fingers crossed we see the M60i. That'll be a lot of fun to drive if it does come through. Overall, the X7, it does feel like a step up from the older one, an incremental step up. The outside is definitely fresh and it'll definitely grab many more eyeballs than before. The older X7, it seemed like it was in your face when it came out, but that one has nothing on this. This is just taking it to another level in terms of presence, in terms of just that sheer drawing eyeballs in. The interiors, they do feel novel, new, and in terms of the driving experience, this does feel special. It's quick, it handles well, it corners well. It is a big 7-seat SUV for the driving enthusiast, if you may. The current X7 is priced around rupees 1.4 crores. I expect this to be a slight markup on that, maybe 1.45, 1.5 as an introductory price, and then prices may rise again from there. So this is not going to be an affordable SUV, but then again, cars have gotten expensive these days. This is BMW's biggest SUV. It's going to cost big money.